Have you ever wondered if nutrition really matters for IBD when it comes to flare-ups? You're not alone. It's something we get asked quite a bit. And I think when you're in a flare-up yourself, there's so much overwhelm, like you feel conflicted about what to do. You already feel exhausted from the flare, and it's hard to know what's what sometimes, especially with all the conflicting info online. So I thought we would tackle the question of, does nutrition matter in flare-ups?
And you may hear from some people that it doesn't, but I feel like, if you have IBD, and obviously as dietitians, we 100% believe it does, because when you think about your gastrointestinal tract, it can be impacted so quickly by what we eat when your guts are irritated. So, of course, you want to think of a plan or have a guide in front of you, us being the guides maybe, to help you through that. And we're going to talk a lot more about how diet does matter in a flare up. But Ashley, do you have any stories to start off with that you can think of people asking a similar question?
Yeah, so actually today I was on an inquiry call with someone that wanted to work with us. We were kind of going through her story, and she was sharing how she felt as though she was trying to take care of herself and be an empowered patient by learning everything she could learn about what really matters with IBD. And what she came across was like, okay, there's a lot of information, so I feel conflicted on that end. And on the other end, I could just try everything and test things out, but how do I really know what's working? Because she's thinking back to many times when she's not been symptomatic at all and had very high inflammation, and vice versa, and I validated her in that you really can't use just testing things out as a method for helping yourself navigate what's really going to work and be most effective with IBD, because symptoms are not the best guide. You have to look at fecal calprotectin, you have to look at colonoscopies and how you're doing from a lot of different metrics to really understand what is actually working. But thankfully, we have a lot of evidence around things that we know are already effective. And so that's where we come in and can help people with really understanding, one, what type of trigger they're dealing with, whether that be something that increases or decreases risk of flare up, and then two, if it's a symptom trigger, how to navigate and how to reduce and mitigate some of those symptoms. So what we know about IBD and flare ups is that there are certain patterns that it can increase risk of flare ups. Patterns meaning dietary food patterns, not a one time thing, but a routine of eating certain ways we know can increase or decrease risk. So we know that is true. I'm going to put all the links to the research studies that I'm talking about here so that you can reference them too. We also know that nutrition can be really important for improving a response to medication. So if you're malnourished, people tend to have poorer outcomes with medications than when they are more nourished. So when they're not having weight loss, where they're not having multiple deficiencies. And that's one of the key things that we focus on in flare-ups, is helping to mitigate some of those factors that could influence negatively your response to medications. We want to give you the best shot at responding to meds in a good way, and your body being in the best shape that it can be to heal, for your immune system to respond and to actively get to remission. We also know, like, nutrient deficiencies, for example, are associated with flare-ups. So they play a role, like vitamin D and zinc play a role in inflammation reduction. So we need to make sure on our ends that with our patients, we're checking all the boxes on the key things that are most important. And I think that's the big factor, is most important, because there's a lot of things, right, out there. There's a lot of evidence for all sorts of things. But I think what having a dietitian by your side can do is help you prioritize the most important things.
Yeah, 100%. Not only can we do that, but we can help lessen the noise around nutrition, because there's so much of it everywhere. And, with a lot of us being online chronically, I will admit myself too, it's hard to block that out. So I know dietitians are a great source or resource to have for that, right? Taking what is most important and putting that into your plan. And especially important too, because when it comes to IBD, nearly 80% of people with IBD have either an eating disorder or a fear around food. And with a lot of people that I've talked with, Ashley, a lot of our clients, I feel like even just like chatting with them, knowing that we understand them and knowing that we understand the research around IBD nutrition can help lessen that fear around it. Plus, of course, we have strategies to help with that. But I feel like it just always speaks volumes when they can have that guide for themselves.
Yeah. And I think when you're in a flare up, I don't know if you experienced, but you might think that the disordered eating part is not an important factor to you potentially, because potentially when you get in that mindset of disordered eating, what that looks like in an IBD patient is just trying to survive, right? Like just trying to reduce or impact the foods that are triggering your symptoms and making it hard to live life, like take your kids to school or sit in traffic or, doing those daily things because life doesn't stop when you have a flare. That's how we get into a disordered eating mindset, is that avoiding symptoms in combination with not having good solid information. And it's never been it's never been harder than now to not be in that space when you have IBD, because people aren't referred often to dietitians, and or there's all kinds of barriers people could have to that, but not having the right information and then in combination with not having symptoms taken care of, you kind of get in that mindset. And so you might not think that that matters, but it does in the grand scheme of things, because not only can it put you at risk to not actually have a good response to medications, and so delay healing, delay remission, all of that, but it may also make things worse. It may also actually intensify symptoms in some cases.
Yeah. Not to mention, to think about your quality of life when it comes to that too. I know that's always at the forefront, I feel, when I'm talking to my GI. Like, what route do we want to take to improve that quality of life, right? And when it comes to food and nutrition, there's a lot that we can help with too.
Yeah. What does quality of life mean to you? Like when you think about that, I'm thinking, what I hear the most is people wanting to get back to things that make them feel like themselves.
Mm. Immediately, what I think of, what you said, Ashley, but like, I want to not be fatigued. I want to not have to worry about where the bathroom is every single time I'm out. I want to feel confident around food. And I don't want all these dang symptoms.
Yeah, those are all good ones. Yeah, I hear that a lot. And I also hear, maybe not, people don't always come to us with this, but they often leave feeling more confident is one thing I hear. And then also thinking less about food, which to me, I think is such a win, like not having it be the forefront of everything, because you might not realize it now if you've been dealing with it for a while, but when you have IBD, it can become the forefront of everything. It can change how you travel. It can change your social life, like how you navigate that. It can change relationships. And so food really does integrate into all of that. And being able to navigate that a little bit better is huge, right? I mean, that impacts so many things. So, one of the other things that we hear quite often that people want help with, that we do help with, it's that there's having information, and then there's knowing how to prioritize it and knowing how to implement it. And so even if you have all the information in the world, sometimes we don't know how to integrate that into life or make it practical and doable and something that you can stick to. And I think that's the other side of what we do that is beyond just, giving you information. Because if you want information, we have a lot of that on our website. But I think the reason why a lot of people want to work with someone is because they want that other half of it. They want the ability to really prioritize and really fit it into their life, because that's kind of the hard part sometimes.
Absolutely. With so many things going on in life. And if you have children, how does that fit in? And, full-time jobs and stuff like that.
And one of the things that I see you doing all the time with your patients is giving them quick strategies. You always say like baby steps, and you're helping bridge that gap between maybe where they want to be or in where they are now. So giving them these small steps, and that's really the way that we help people too, with just advancing their diet and trying small things a little bit at a time is really the name of the game.
Yeah, I think that is something I always want to make sure my patients know is that I am here for you every step of the way. If you're uncertain about something, let's discuss it. If you need more ideas on what to eat, that's part of the reason I'm here too. So there's a lot of things that we can talk about, and the support around that is just so big for me. I just like to emphasize that with my people. So when it comes to what a dietitian does for you in a flare up, not only do we provide meal strategies but fiber implementation strategies. We are there for you like a tour guide, right? Ashley, walking you through those priorities. What labs should you be taking a peek at, maybe how to discuss certain things with your doctor, or maybe we help with that piece too. But it's really, I don't know, I feel like it's endless sometimes because food is so central to everything that we do. We talk about, okay, how to eat out at restaurants. What would a potluck look like for you? What would the holidays look like for you? So there's just lots.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. So, I mean, I think the bottom line of this video is, does nutrition matter in a flare up? Yes, absolutely it does. And if you need a handout that explains why it does, we actually have one on our website called Why Nutrition Matters. We'll link it below. Also, if you need some support, we are here for you. You can't always do it alone. Sometimes you need somebody by your side to help guide you and to help provide a roadmap. So if that sounds like you, let us know. Send us a message. Check out our website. We have 3 ways that you can work with us now. So lots of different places to start when it comes to working on the nutrition piece for IBD, but it can make a huge difference. All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.